Good morning and welcome to another 10-minute takeaway where we are again joined by Jon Sharp, consultant solicitor and insurance specialist at Silver Shemmings Ash. Jon has been updating us regularly throughout the year on the ongoing business interruption case with the test case with the FCA, and he's here to give us his latest update. Good morning, Jon.
Good morning, Julie. How are you on this fine day?
Fabulous, thank you. I hope it's sunny in Scotland. It certainly isn't down
It
here.
is just for once, actually. Can't complain today. Perfectly sunny
as you
day.
do. Thanks for that.
Snow later in the week, though.
Damn, how terrible.
Yes.
So the business interruption things that have been going on, what's the latest on this matter?
Well, the latest is that under the framework agreement that the FCA and insurers entered into, it was anticipated that parties would want to appeal. I mean, to be fair, it was obvious that they would. And so the parties, after the first instance decision by Lord Justice Flo and Lord Justice Butcher, did want to appeal. Now, not everyone wanted to appeal. The FCA certainly wanted to appeal because even though they won probably 75% of the case, there were some areas that they were not happy with. As for the insurers, well, most of them wanted to appeal. And there wasn't any argument from the FCA. The FCA said, if you want to appeal, well, we're not going to oppose it, you can appeal. There were some notable exceptions to that. One, a company called Ecclesiastical, I think I mentioned before, had 3 policies that were under scrutiny. None of those were found to have any cover. So not surprisingly, they went, okay, we won't appeal. We'll stay where we are, thanks very much. And Zurich had 4 policies, I think, under scrutiny, and only one of those was found to have cover. And they've made, I think, probably a very sensible decision. They've probably looked at their figures, they've used their actuaries and thought, right, fine, that's that. We'll walk away. We'll pay out on that one, and the other
Discretion's
3,
the better part of that.
you know, let's not run the risk. That was a good result for us. We're quite happy. But of course, it wasn't a very good result for some, in particular, Hiscox. Again, I think I've mentioned before, always prided themselves on paying claims, etc., used to at least, and offered wide coverage. And not surprisingly, Lord Justice Flo found that there was cover in all of their policies, and they're not very happy about that. And I think within an hour of the first instance decision being announced, they said, oh, we're going to appeal. So there we go. So they all trotted off to the Supreme Court, and God knows how many barristers were there, before a panel of judges led by Lord Reid, and that was heard between the 16th and the 20th of November. Again, you can read some of the transcripts online on the FCA's website. You've always had the ability to do that. And I think, again, you could pay to actually watch it. But I don't suppose it was that scintillating, to be honest. I suspect insurers will be saying in particular that the decision made in relation to the New Orleans hotel, which I said to you, which the Lord Justice Flo distinguished and said was decided wrongly anyway. I suspect they'll be heavily reliant on that, saying that that was wrong. That was a wrong decision for Lord Justice Flo to make, etc. And doubtless there'll be other inventive arguments there. But anyway, it's now finished. Finished on time on the 20th. And Lord Reid said at the end, well, we're going to put our thinking hats on. We'll come back to you as soon as we can. But realistically, I can't tell you whether it's going to be before Christmas or early January. So I suspect for both policyholders who effectively the FCA represented and for insurers, it's going to be a bit of a nervous Christmas because there is 1.2 billion pounds worth of claims at stake. So yeah, it'll be interesting, but I think I'm going to err on the side of caution and say it probably won't be out until January, early Jan, I think.
That's a lot of money. Do you think the Supreme Court will change much in the original decision?
Well, I've been doing this for 32 years, Julie, and you know, nothing surprises me anymore. I've been to court thinking I'm going to win cases, and somehow I've ended up with a bit of a bloody nose. And I've equally been to court, you know, tail between my legs thinking, oh, this is not going to go well, and somehow managed to get a result. However, I am not anticipating that the House of Lords are going to change, sorry, the Supreme Court, sorry, my age, is going to change that much. Lord Justice Flo, as I've said before, is an extremely competent judge. He has spent, when he was a barrister, all of his life dealing with insurance claims. He was the insurance man to go to. And I can't believe that his rationale and his decisions will be challenged too much. However, I could well be wrong. Maybe that the Supreme Court takes a different view on some areas, but broadly, I'm not expecting it to change too much. But who knows, to be fair. I haven't, to myself, I didn't log in and listen to all the arguments, but I'm not expecting too many changes. There may be some tinkering around the edges is what I'm thinking more than a whole scale that was all decided wrongly. I'm not expecting that.
Okay, so I know you've been very active with the advice on the business interruption cases over the last couple of months with your vlogs, but can you just remind us what everyone should be doing now? Right,
the problem we have, Julie, remains this one, that very laudable though the FCA's action was, extremely laudable. They picked 27 policy wordings that contained the most common clauses found in the 78 policy wordings that there were. Now, fantastic news for those who have got one of the policies that was actually looked at. If it's found to be covered, there's no excuse now, it's upheld by the Supreme Court, for insurers not to start paying. But there will be differences, minutiae of wordings, different clauses, that will be in the difference between the 78 and the 27. And I can't do the maths, but let's call it 56 or something. So what you need to do if you haven't had a policy that was directly looked at by the court is I think it's worth spending some money getting a counsel's opinion on it. And it's a simple instruction to counsel, to a solicitor, to say, this is our policy wording, these are the decisions, have we got cover? If you've got any policy, though, that mentions closure by government or pandemic, notifiable disease cover, you should be having it checked. But I don't think it's going to take very long for that to happen, and it won't be that expensive. You know, it really should not be a lot of money. If you do have the cover, then, as I've said all along, I do hope that everyone's been keeping their records of their losses. They really, because liability is one thing, and insurers may not be able to argue with that, but they will be able to argue on quantum. And so they will be scrutinising every single claim, unless it's so small they're not going to be bothered about it. And they'll be using loss adjusters, and you'll need to be substantiating your claims with full documentation. There'll be a way of presenting it to insurers as well, but the key to all this is going to be making sure that you have got all the information available to you. You will also need to demonstrate to insurers that you've mitigated your loss, that you haven't just gone, oh, well, we're covered, and shut up shop. You need to be able to show that you have traded and continued your business to the very best of your ability. It was interesting when we were doing the Ask the Experts last week, Julie, that Norden said the same thing. If you're applying now for more business loans, etc., you need to show that you've tried to keep your business going and that you've tried to change the way you've operated, etc. Banks will be far more willing to lend money to people who they can see are trying to keep their business afloat than those that have just not given up, but have just said, oh, can't be bothered to change the way I've done things, etc. So it's important. Make sure you've got all your documentation ready. Make sure you've mitigated your loss to the best of your ability. And in particular, have your policy wording checked. There will be differences. It was impossible for the FCA to look at the 78. They have looked at the ones which contain the most common clauses. As I said, there will be differences between the 27 and the other 78. So, but however, as these business interruption claims are potentially worth a lot of money, it has to be worth spending a relatively small amount of money find out whether you've got the cover. It just has to be. So that's what I would suggest that everyone does. The decision, as I said, will be mid-Jan, and that will be the time, hopefully, to start getting your claims in and seeing how we go on from there. But don't think that by just putting your claim in, they're going to pay. It won't. They will come back with a whole list of questions, and you'll have to have the documentation to answer them in order to get your claim paid.
Yeah, that just would have been far too easy.
That would have been far too easy. But remember, there's just one point, actually. Just remember that although I don't know of any decided case, and I don't, and it may just be my ignorance, quite frankly, but there was a provision put in the Enterprise Act which said that if an insurer delays paying a claim basically unreasonably, so it just drags its feet, so that it's a straightforward claim, it's covered by the policy, and yet the insurer basically faffs about, for you pardon the vernacular, doesn't pay, and you end up having to take them to court, you can get damages. And that provision in the Enterprise Act has been put into the Insurance Act. You can say, well, look, court, this was such an obvious claim. Why are we here, you know, spending all this money? Now, fine, I'm going to get my cost back, but come on, I think I need some damages here as well. This was not a complicated matter. This is just an insurance company not really playing ball.
Yeah.
So bear that in mind. And the other thing to bear in mind, I think, is this, that the FCA effectively, by taking this action, have been giving insurers a yellow card. They've been saying, you've been very naughty boys, don't do it again. Were your policies actually effective or not? But the only people that can give them a red card are the consumers. So just look at how your current insurer has treated it. Some have actually treated it reasonably well. They have said, this is a unique set of circumstances. We don't think they're covered. However, we accept that there is this test case going through. We will revisit the situation once the test case has gone through and we know the decision. Now, if they do come back and say, well, look, we've looked at it, we've read the test case, and actually, yes, we are now going to make payments. You need to do this, this, and the other. That's a halfway reasonable approach. Others have not behaved so well. And so you need to have a look at it, because really, there still will be competition for your straightforward office policy, contents, business interruption. You know, even if it's just done out of a slight bit of spite, you might want to think about moving your insurer this year. And your brokers will know which ones have been more reasonable than others. Maybe they will come out of this well. In the same way as with car insurance, Admiral have obviously come out of it very well by saying to everyone, we're all giving you some money back. We are not going to be paying out those level of claims as we were, because no one was on the road for 3 months. It was a nice touch. Didn't cost them a lot of money. I think the average refund was 30 quid, but it's nevertheless, you know, put them in a good stead.
Yeah, in terms
anyway,
of
Jim,
PR,
that's all I was going to say. Sorry, I interrupted.
As I was going to say, in terms of PR, that was priceless.
Oh, it was, absolutely. It was the only insurance company that's come out of this really with any sort of better reputation is probably Apple. It was a touch of genius. That was a good thing to do. But the rest, I'm afraid, it's just added. The sad thing is that I do have some sympathy with insurers. It was an unusual set of circumstances. And in addition to that, I think the general conception is that insurers don't pay, but they do. When there is a valid claim, they do pay, but they pay in accordance with the policy wording. You know, they have to put you back into the position that you were before, not better, not worse, but not better. They are entitled to take off their excess. There are sometimes sub-limits within the policies that say the maximum you can recover under this head is 50 grand. You know, they sometimes get a little bit unfairly treated because they're actually doing their job, paying out in accordance with the policy, and it's not their fault that people haven't read the policy wording closely enough to work out whether there are sub-limits within it. Anyway, Julie, I'm going to shut up now. Lovely to see you as always.
Okay, so this will obviously be the last one we anticipate before Christmas.
Oh yes, I don't think if there is one before Christmas, I would like to think that everyone's going to have a decent Christmas, even though it's going to be a very different Christmas this year. So I probably won't do an update until January. Again, I don't suspect the judgment's going to be short, so it'll take me a little while to read it. So yes, I would have thought I'll come back to everyone in January. And I wish everyone watching this a very happy Christmas and New Year.
Okay, and the same back to you, John. Thank you very much, as always, for your time and sharing your expertise and knowledge with us. We will see you again in the new year, 2021. See you soon.
See you soon. Take care.